Welcome back to the Coaching Live podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about the lessons, the challenges, the stories that extend beyond the playing field, which is where we're going to go today. And this is, we have another guest, and I'm going to introduce him here in a second. So for those that are listening, I just told you we have a guest. For those that are watching, you can see. And so it always makes you feel like, well, we better tell him who he is, tell everybody who he is. Yes, we would take a long time to build up the guest. Well, now we can't do that because we're on video. But this is episode number 200 of the Coaching Live podcast. And so our guest today's name is Brennan Meadows. And so Brennan, we want you to feel honored that we have you in here for the 200th episode of this podcast. So yeah, it's not easy to get to that.
Yeah, Sam, I am honored to be here, to be able to talk about, something that, not only is very recent for me, but something that I feel that can be helpful to other people.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. So we'll get right into it. I'll introduce you in this way. So when the game is over, and when I say over, I mean over. You're done playing. You're no longer wearing a uniform. What do you do? And that's kind of what we're going to talk with Brennan about today. So who he is, Brennan is a former offensive lineman for the Ohio University Bobcats football team. He also grew up in Coal Grove, Ohio, where he attended Dawson-Bryant High School. That's right. Correct, right? Dawson-Bryant is the high school, Coal Grove was the town. Gotcha. Yeah. And he was a star offensive and defensive line. You played both sides of the ball, I think, didn't you? But center also, which is right in the middle of the line there. And then was recruited to play here at Ohio University. And the reason why Brennan is joining our podcast today is actually a couple of different reasons. One is I recently have hired him to work for us. We've talked about how I have the student ambassador team here at Scripps College, and every year in the spring, we hire new students to come on and work with us the following year. And then if they enjoy it and we enjoy them, they can stick around for the rest of their college career. And Brennan is a new ambassador for us. And so as we were talking during his interview last year, he mentioned to me that he was on the football team. He actually looked familiar to me because I do work with him too. And so I asked, and he said, yeah. And he mentioned that he was no longer going to play. And so we chatted a little bit about that. And as we were talking about the episodes that you and I wanted to do on the podcast this year, or for this season, for season 12 here, we had talked about doing an episode on the sometimes difficult transition out of sports, not playing sports, when they have been such a huge part of your life, and your identity, really. And it's sometimes really, really cruel the way that transition happens, because for most people, we've mentioned this before, for most people, the sport decides when you're done playing. If you are one of those very few small percentage of folks that get to play all the way through professional levels, and then you decide when you retire, that's fantastic. That's a very small very, very small percentage of people, right?
That's just them being proactive.
Because it's still going to decide. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming for all of us, right?
I've always heard it's the 1% of the 1% that go to professional.
100. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So yeah, and so we are we're going to chat with Brennan about that, and it's going to be a tough conversation probably at times for you, because it's not an easy thing, and we feel like this could be a really helpful conversation for a lot of our listeners and families of our listeners, mothers and fathers, people who are supporting the children of the kids that are going through the disappointment, of this is it. Those senior nights, you see all those moms in tears on senior nights, because for a lot of players, high school is it. And they're done, and that last game, that last home game, that last time you walk across the field, that's tough. Pat, I'm gonna make Pat cry right now, because he just finished coaching up his oldest son, and now Jake is here, no longer playing. So I take that back. He is playing sport. He's back in the game. What's his newest sport he's picking up?
Oh, badminton. I thought you were going to mention your favorite at softball.
Oh, jeez. Did you drag him into slow pitch? So he's going to play for the dirty ball bags?
No, I don't. That team's been retired.
Oh, okay.
That's
So yeah, that's
these,
the name of the team.
it is. Yeah, it is. Pat came up with that name.
I mean, it's a good name.
All right. Okay.
People fear heart. You understand?
Yeah. Right.
Others.
Well, yeah, we're talking about the bag of softballs that you carry to the field. It got dirty, and someone said, "Yeah, that'd be a good name for the team, dirty ball bags." Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, back on topic. Brennan, it's good to have you, man. It's good to have you. Yeah. We're excited to have you on the podcast and to talk about this. It's going to be a great episode.
Brennan's getting paid right
This you're actually coincidentally he is working right now. Yeah.
now. 200 episode, we kind of made it, to where we wanted to be. At least
We have a paid guest. Yeah. For the first time, we've made a commitment to keep this podcast free, and so yeah,
Now we're talking premium.
that's right. Well, good deal. I'll tell you what. Through a lot of the things that we're going to ask you and talk about, you're going to have the chance to tell us a little bit about your football playing career. But let's just go ahead and start there. Tell us about what has led you to this place, athletically, and then we'll get into some of the academic things that you're doing right now too. So.
Yeah, so I started playing football as most people would at the ripe age of like 8 years old. Not because I saw much interest in it, but because it's like, hey, you have to do something. And my parents looked at me and was like, hey, you have to, this is what I did as a kid. This is what you're gonna do as a kid. And I was like, you know what, fine. And I quickly fell in love with it. I used it. It became a part of myself.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is something that I know that I'm good at, something that I know that I learned that I was good at. And, it took a lot of, what would otherwise be some of the worst parts of myself and channeled it into a way to, in a way that was very not reserved, but perceived.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was very quick to anger, very outwardly expressive in how I showed that emotion.
Yeah.
When you step onto the football field, it's like, yeah, strap the helmet on, you need that. You won't last long.
It's an outlet for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was a big outlet for it. Yeah, it's a perfect way to describe it. And that transitioned into thinking about the future with it, and going through high school, being kind of the only person in my position at Colgrove that could do what I did, with the people that we had. I was kind of the only person that could consistently do my job in in the center position.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a 3-year starter in high school. I played with my brother my freshman year.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool experience to be on the field with him every once in a while. And then transitioning from, being kind of the only option to looking towards college and looking towards like, okay, how can I use this to benefit my future?
Yeah.
And, being able to look at all these colleges and look at all these schools that were interested in what I had to offer, and like my, the acumen that I, showed, athletically, it was a very big deal, especially for my family, knowing that, both my older brothers got school paid for in one way or another, and knowing that this was kind of my avenue to do that, was there was a lot at stake.
Yeah.
In that. And I you talking about me coming on as a preferred walk-on, that's a very interesting story. So we're gonna fast forward to probably about January of my senior year. I had just been freshly out of surgery. I had a full meniscus. I had most of my meniscus removed from my right knee. Patella stabilizer prosthetic, cartilage, like a biocartilage injections, a 2-hour OR operation. Like it was, I definitely had wore myself down over the course of like middle school into high school.
This was after your senior football season?
Yeah, this was after my senior year.
So you didn't have a season-ending injury. You just played through it
I
knowing that you're going to have a surgery afterwards.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I played through almost every injury that I had.
Yeah.
Never took more than like a few days off. That was just how, I was always
Right.
brought up to do. It was like, hey, you don't have time to settle down. You don't have time to do that because you need to be like, this is from, coaches, teammates,
Oh yeah.
even like my family every once in a while
Yeah.
would think like, you just need to suck it up and keep
Yep.
going. And, I took that to heart. I was
We
like,
were of that mindset
yeah, it's like I need to,
as well.
yeah, it's like at some point, if you are thinking about going next level, it is something you need to think about. But I wasn't on that
Mm,
stage at that point. I was getting injured every other week and wasn't allowing myself to, you know, get back to 100%.
yeah.
So yeah, January after my senior year, I got that surgery. I was in rehab for it, and I get a call, and it's from Alan Rudolph,
Yeah.
the online coach
Yeah.
for OU last year, and he was talking to me, and he was like, "Hey, um, we saw because earlier that summer I had done a camp in South Carolina, um, and was pretty much evaluated by the offensive analyst at the time, who used to be their O-line coach, Greg Adkins,
Okay.
and he found out from his connection from
Yeah.
Coach Rudolph's connection to Coach Atkins that my name was brought up at some point for like transfers, and he was like, "Hey, we can't offer you a roster spot right now, but like we're thinking about redshirting you for the next year, and then getting you on as like off like a GA for that like your freshman season, so it gives you all your eligibility still. So of your I think 5 years, I think it is now, or something like that, 5 seasons. I think it's 5 seasons.
Red shirt, sure. I mean, is that without red shirt?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, 5 seasons.
5 seasons. I think is what it is.
Oh
for.
yeah. I mean,
I'm not entirely sure.
yeah.
And like with the JUCO eligibility and everything, that all changed. But
Well, yeah. That's
It did because now, what was the
well.
the-
The most there was a lawsuit, I think, that permitted some guys, and I think they've peeled back on that a little bit, but it was you could go to JUCO and then still have 4 years of eligibility at a 4-year school after that, which essentially gives you 2 additional high school years to.
allow that?
It may still be through this year, but I feel like I've heard that's there's no way that can be sustainable. I mean,
that's
I would be encouraging all of my baseball players to go play JUCO if they really want to play in college. I would. I mean, yeah,
making that the pipeline into college and then into professional sports. Like you got to think you're not going to see
well, there's
anymore
well, yeah, you're not going to see any high schoolers getting recruited.
yeah,
to play.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, you barely see it now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like that was a big thing. As soon as
So you were being recruited by the Gamecocks.
at first it wasn't necessarily the Gamecocks. I just went because my parents had a connection to Coach Atkins,
Gotcha.
and I got offered to go to that
Gotcha.
just to get like an evaluation.
Yeah.
Because at that point, I had a lot of D2 offers, a lot of NAIA schools, Gardner Webb, which we played a few weeks
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
I got an offer from them. Got an offer from like the biggest opportunity I had was to play for Bowling Green as a preferred walk-on, just to have the roster spot. But that was the only offer that I'd had that was anywhere near what I was looking for.
Gotcha.
Like close to partial.
Up until Coach Rudolph called you.
Yes, up until Coach Rudolph
Gotcha.
called me, because at that point I had surgery. I did not think that my prospects were going anywhere, and I was kind of coming to terms with the fact that I wouldn't play. So I'd already had the mindset of, hey, high school might be it for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm walking through a Walmart one day, and I get a call from Coach Rudolph, or I get a voicemail from Coach Rudolph that says, "Hey, big things just changed. Call me back whenever you can." First thing I did, straight home. I ended up, kind of sitting on it for a minute, because at that point, I feel like my family was coming to terms with the fact that I wouldn't play, and I was really considering it. So I was like, I don't know if I can get back to the level which I was playing in high school. And, lo and behold, I could. But I called him back and he offered me for a walk-on spot.
So were you already in your mind as you were thinking about not playing football anymore, where were you wanting to go to college? Were you set on coming to Ohio University? So adding that to it
Yeah.
was like icing on the cake then.
Yeah, that's how I always
Yeah.
thought about it. Was like, yeah, I'm already going to school here. They already got the
Yeah.
degree that I wanted with media arts production.
Right.
Me taking the next step in what would be after my athletic career, regardless.
Sure.
I
You would come here anyway. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That is make sure you go to college where you want the academic,
yeah, that is
where
probably
you want to be academically.
for me. Yeah. So I get on the last week of fall camp. So I'm in there late. Was it early August?
Mm-hmm.
I'm there the Thursday before the last week. I was there by the end of the week. I
Mm-hmm.
was moved in, had all my stuff together. Which I mean, from Homer to
Yeah, it's not too bad.
it's like you're preparing to move your
Right.
child
Right.
in college, and like
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it was a big deal, and we went through the season. I didn't really get a whole lot in terms of like my fundamental development just throughout the season because of how like in the thick of it like the team was. And like I didn't really pay much mind because like I figured I'd have more time to develop as a player, develop more as like all of that. And I ended up doing a lot of work with the defensive scout team, doing stuff for them, working still with the offense, being involved in drills, trying to shadow a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like all of that kind of culminated in that later January after we won the Staff DNA Bowl and the MAC championship and all that. In the spring meeting, when we all came back, we all like everyone kind of assumed it was the exit meeting, like people that were like, "Hey, no shame if this is like this is your chance."
Yeah.
And I kind of saw that.
And this is with the new head coach also.
Yeah, this is after Brian Smith took over.
Yeah.
And Coach Rudolph left.
Right.
Half the rest of the coaching staff left.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of booked it to Charlotte, and everybody was kind of uneasy. Everybody was very like.
Yep. We were seeing on a weekly basis for a while the core. A lot of people were staying, and you're like, okay, we're going to retain a lot of guys. And then as coaches started leaving, you started seeing more guys say that they're leaving also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which led to me being so anxious.
Sure.
Going into that meeting of like, okay, is this it for me? Like, is this it? Because like the spring portal opened up early for us because of all the staff changes and all of that. So I was already anxious that like I'm already on the chopping block.
And you knew like really transfer really wasn't really hard because
that's where you want to be.
Yeah. This is where I wanted to be, and I knew that going to a different school wouldn't satisfy what I wanted out of going to college. So,
wow, that's good. I mean, that's a good wise comment.
So I went up to Coach Smith's office, and I asked him about it. I was like, hey, I need to just be candid with you. I want to know where you see me as a player, where you see me in terms of scholarship, because that was part of the only reason that I, wanted to go on as a preferred walk-on was the chance of getting a partial scholarship and helping my parents out with expenses. And, I really respect how straight he took it of, hey, we were going to, try and monitor how you did over the spring, but as of right now, we don't see much, and that was full knife to the chest. I was I part of me expected it, but hearing it out loud was like it was just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And the point where I knew that I was over and everything was over was when I was offered a graduate assistant position. It was like he already took the course of action of like why I was there, why I was talking to him, and wanted to shift it into, hey, what else can you do to be with the program? What else can you do to help the program?
Yeah.
And like I respected it.
Yeah.
It turned into, oh, okay, so right now as I read it back then, he doesn't value me as a player anymore.
Yeah.
And,
That was your initial
that was
feel. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel that
The knife is still in the chest.
this
Yeah.
conversation is over.
Yeah.
This conversation is, I am frustrated, I'm upset. I don't want to, say something that would
Yeah.
harbor bad feelings, burn bridges, because, in hindsight, it was a very gracious thing for him to, tell me that, and to tell
Offer you a role that's a non-playing role,
Yeah.
but we there are a lot of people we wouldn't offer this to probably.
Yeah,
And they're not offering out to everybody.
definitely a foot in the door
Yeah,
for that. And
yeah.
again, in hindsight, I'm very appreciative for it.
Sure.
But at the time, it was definitely like, oh, this is, I have, like I said before, I lost that part of myself.
Yeah.
And, I remember going back to my dorm and just absolutely breaking down.
Mhm.
I called a lot of my family and talking about, like, hey, um, I just got cut. And, I had a lot of mixed reactions. A lot of people were, of course, like, flabbergasted at it, at the thought.
Of course. Yeah.
Others were frustrated that, maybe I wasn't doing enough, or maybe I wasn't, putting as much effort as I should have been. And that, ultimately it was something that was my fault.
Mm.
And, while
You probably had some of that thought too.
yeah, it's like, I'll consider
Yeah.
a little bit that, maybe that was the case. Maybe that was
Sure.
something that, maybe subconsciously I wasn't putting my full effort into it, because
sometimes it is.
Yeah.
You just and you got to ask yourself, am I one of those? Is that the case with me
Yeah.
as well? Yeah, it's a sobering thought for sure.
Yeah, so I spent a long time, I'd say probably the next 2 or 3 months, really trying to find what I could redirect this. I don't want to say emptiness, but it was like sort of like that. It was like this,
Yeah.
I have so much free time now. And it was something I remember
Yeah.
Coach Smith telling me. It was like, hey, if you weren't playing football right now, what would you do? And I think the fact that I had a concrete answer is
It helped him to
If-
feel better about what he's. Yeah.
me.
Well, sure.
I felt that, like, oh, there are other things in my life.
Yeah.
My answer for it was, I'd probably be still working towards my degree. I'd still be, freshman at the time. It's like, I'd still
Yeah.
be, looking for internships. I'd be trying to do more stuff with student organizations, and trying my best to, like, try and fit sports into as much of what I want to do with the rest of my life as possible. And, I think that's what kind of opened the door for him to offer me, like, to get in contact with people in the media team,
Yeah.
to get in contact with people that do the broadcasting, that do, like, all these sorts of things. And, it turned into something that, I wouldn't say, turned out as well as I thought it would. But it was something that was the logical next step. It
Yeah.
turned into, like, okay, I don't know exactly what I'm doing yet, but I know that I need to be doing something. I know that I need to be not just, like, trying to preoccupy my mind, but definitely, work towards finding something that scratches the same itch.
Yeah. You can't go back and keep reading the previous chapter again and again and again. You got to turn the page and write the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. What time of year was this meeting? Like, what? I mean, you said it was spring, but what? Do you remember the date approximately?
I think as soon as the spring semester started. So I think it was like January.
Okay, so early,
So,
because your interview with me was in what, March?
yeah.
That was pretty fresh.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was definitely something that, at that point, I was on the other end of the bell curve. I was definitely, like, I had felt it.
You've accepted it a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
I accepted that was how it's going to have to be.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it wasn't my decision. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to, like you said, like, a lot of the time that decision isn't made for people.
Mhm.
And when it comes to stuff like that, most people don't think about what they would do afterward, or, like, what they would do once sports is over. Especially from the mind of an athlete that played football my entire life.
Yeah.
I was always like, summer is for football, summer's for training, winter is for powerlifting for training. And it was like it turned into my entire job, my entire like, you know, work life balance turned into like, okay, what can I do to prepare to be a better person, be a better athlete? And, you know, taking that away, you start realizing how segmented everything was, how much stuff you learned because of the sport that you played, how much that applies to your life outside of football.
Yeah.
That was part of the acceptance that I had by the time that I went to go and interview, by the time I went to go and, you know, kind of pitch and market myself.
Yeah, it sounds like you were beginning to have a little bit of gratitude, allowing the gratitude portion of your experience to enter into your heart and mind as well. Like, okay, I might be done playing, but here are the lessons that I've learned. Here's how it's shaped my life, and here's how it's going to impact me. Here's how those things can be carried into the next aspect of my life. And therefore I'm thankful for the experiences, both good and bad. Yeah.
I think it'd be easy in that moment to feel like, the burden of failure to be on your shoulders.
Mhm.
Like you didn't make it to where you were,
Yeah.
where you wanted to be, I guess I would say. But that transition of understanding that it was a part of the journey. You're right on path where you need to be.
Yeah.
I told someone actually it was an Eastern athlete this week that
Someone he's trying to recruit.
she's a volleyball player. But you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. I think it's
Yep. Yep.
In that case, it was a reality check. It was definitely like, you know, I knew towards the latter half of the season that the sport changed for me.
Hmm.
Transitioning from high school to college, like
It's very different, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, like you're always I was always told, you know, into my junior and senior year by my coaches, by, you know, teammates that I remember, you know, going into college and you know, they tell you that like it doesn't turn into like you have to love it. You
Yeah.
have to love it
Yep.
because it turns into a business. And you know, it's like I said, it's the difference between hearing it and actually living it, and knowing that, you know, it's not nothing's in hard feelings, nothing's in bad blood. It's just like, hey, we're trying to do the best we can to make the best team we can. It's not about, you know, whose parents, you know, yell and scream enough to the point where you get playing time. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, it goes into like, okay, who does the best at this job? That's what we're putting in, regardless of who it is.
Because if I don't and we lose, I lose my job.
Yeah.
That's what your coaches are thinking,
Yeah.
right? And so that's a hard reality. So they do not care what a parent thinks.
Yeah. And, you know, by extension, they don't really care much what you think.
What you think. You're exactly right. You're
And
exactly right.
And that's, again, that's not a, you know, I don't care about you as a person.
Sure.
I don't care much.
I can't make a decision based on what you desire for yourself.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, everybody that's there wants to be there.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason you're on the team, is because you need, like, you want something out of it.
and their own.
They all played a lot in high school and were stars and could hold up all the accolades that they yeah.
That first reality check of like, hey, welcome to college, everyone's good
Yeah.
here, is like, it's real. You know, it's definitely
Yeah.
something that I experienced going in with like the first practice. Like I remember throwing up after the warm up that we did. Because
Yes.
I thought over the summer, like while I was, you know, prepping to go somewhere for football, I did not think it would be to the extent, like I didn't think I wasn't in good enough shape, and that
You found out.
yeah, good morning. That was the case.
Yeah, that camp is rough, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
And it's hot.
yeah. I supposedly came in on like one of the hottest weeks. It was like close to 100 degrees, if not a little bit more. We had to practice in Walter because of
Yeah.
heat
Yeah.
reactions, and
Yeah.
yeah. So the transition from that, it does become more. Would corporate be a good word for that? I
Oh, absolutely.
It becomes a lot more like chasing the upward arrow than, you know, knowing people on a personal level,
Mhm.
and
That's-
finding a good balance between the two is what makes
See,
things good.
it's one of the things that I've mentioned before is the different dynamics among different sports in relationship to high school and college. Like in the game of football, you can see it every Friday night. And you know, when you're around it, there's a camaraderie among all however many guys are on your roster, 40 to 80 kids on the roster at a high school football team. And that, you know, it's family, you know, it's every, you know, you're in the same locker room together. You get a lot more team, you know, like total team meetings as opposed to unit meetings and things like that. And there is business to it, but it's family, right? And that's the football feel. And you go to college, and the football feel in college is a little different. Like you may have some of that depending on how successful your team is, I think. But like you said, it's also very business-like. You know, you don't know if you're on the offensive side of the ball, you may not even know the names of some of the people on the defensive side of the way. Yeah, and things. And in high school, it's unheard of, right? Because these are your buddies that but in college, these are not your buddies. These are just people that you work with. And here's the wild thing. I'm gonna switch sports on you here. I think with baseball, it's the opposite. The dynamics are the opposite. I think you have more of the family feel in college ball than you do in high school ball. And I think one of the reasons for that when it comes to people, and that's speaking in generalizations, but some people would probably say, "Oh no, we've got our high school team." You know, that I think I pinpointed a couple of reasons for that. I think, and it was I remember talking with my son about this when he was playing in high school because he ate and drank and slept and crapped baseball all the time, right? He loved it. It was who he was, and he was working hard for it. And there were 4 or 5 other kids that had that same hardcore passion. And if you get a handful of those, you can have a pretty good baseball team in high school. But a lot of kids play baseball in the spring because they just always played it, or it's something to do in the spring, or somebody talked them into coming out, you know, or they're a good athlete and it's going to help them for something else. But you have a few that play play it in the summer, play it in the fall, play it in the spring. They love it, right? And I think there's a lot more frustration among those kids that just love this sport when they don't see that same level of respect for the game from other teammates in high school. But you get to college, and every single one of those guys feels like you do about the sport. And there's just a different, and you play, you know, you play games every day. It's just the different dynamics of the sport too. I just find that, I don't know. I'd be curious to see like what the basketball story is, or what the soccer story is, or what, you know, talk to different athletes. But I find that, because here's what I find: a lot of kids that go and play college football don't last as long as the ones that play college baseball. They'll stick around a little bit longer, especially at the lower levels, where all of a sudden now you're playing afternoon college games, and the only people in the stands are a few moms and dads that are there to watch you, you know, at like a D3, D2 or NAIA school, where Friday night you're used to it being packed, you know, and kids playing in the end zone, and you have cheerleaders and all this. But you don't have any of that. I mean, even some of the best programs in the state of Ohio, Mount Union, you just don't have very many people go to the games. You know, things like that. I just think there's different dynamics to that. You know, in baseball, kids are used to not having a ton of people at their games. And so, we got a handful of people at the college game, no big deal, right? And I think about those things sometimes. I think it's harder sometimes for kids to play football for 4 years in college for that reason, unless they are one of the people that come right in and play all the time. You're working hard every day, knowing that you're never going to get in a game, and you only have 12 of them. You know, and these guys are playing 54 games down here, you know, at Bob Brennan Stadium. You know, it's just, there's a lot of different dynamics.
You know, on that topic, you know, like I felt that I was one of those kids in high school that was like, this was all that I really worked towards,
Mm-hmm.
outside of like, you know, my classes and everything. Cause I carried like a 4.2, 4.3. I mean, I was never valedictorian, salutatorian, or anything like that. Just because like some people that were in my graduating class, like,
Sure.
I have a friend now, he's at Purdue studying like astrophysics, and he tied for first with somebody that got I forget what the merit scholarship for Marshall is, but she got a full ride for all of that.
Wow.
They were like in competition of like who's taking more CCS classes. So it's like, for me, it was a balance of both. It was like I did as much as I could for school to prepare to make sure that I looked good for football. Like that was
Yeah.
like everything redirected to like being better at football, being a better prospect for
Mhm.
football. And
Which high academic achievement does make you look better
yeah,
to
like
a coach.
I won the Wendy's Heisman for my thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how, prestigious that is, but I got the excellent scholarship here.
Mhm.
I got quite a few awards through high school. Just
Well, it means they have to give you less.
yeah, so it was like,
Yeah.
it was kind of
More money for
yeah,
another. Yeah.
that was a bargain deal.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but going into college, it was definitely the passion that everyone felt that it was kind of addicting
Yeah.
almost. Being able to be around people that are like just as focused on football specifically,
Right.
and knowing that as I later went on, that was all they thought about, and like more power to them, more power to
Right.
people that like that's all they do, um, which I think that was kind of a point of separation between me and like the rest of my teammates.
You
And
had some other interests.
yeah, it was like I had other things that defined me. I had other things. Like it was kind of an interesting thing walking in my freshman year was that I did a lot of stuff with the Rough Cut Collective, which is a film organization on campus here.
Mm-hmm.
And all the people from Rough Cut Collective thought I was interesting because I played football. Other people on the football team thought I was interesting because I did film. And it was like,
Yeah.
it separated me.
Two cultures.
Yeah,
Intersecting. Yeah.
it kind of separated me in a way that was like, it's not because you're an exceptional athlete, not because you hold something that you can do that I can't, but it's like, oh, that's something else.
Uh-huh.
It's like that's not you can have a conversation that I don't know everything about,
Mm.
and I don't think that was like that like makes me better than anybody, like not by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that it set me apart in a way that was very like more social than it was in terms of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that which later went on into me transitioning into putting the effort that I put into football into other places
Hmm.
where, I was stretching myself too thin, burning at both ends, trying to do two things at once. And at the end of the day, it was the thing I was more passionate about that worked out. And, I think that can apply to anybody that,
Sure.
goes out of high school or goes out of college and doesn't really know what to do with their time, doesn't really know what to do with, you know, somebody that's like an undecided major for 3 years and is just going to their senior year and like doesn't really know what's going on,
Yeah.
is to like, take the passion that you have for what you used to have and transfer that into something that will benefit you emotionally, benefit you mentally, and benefit you spiritually. Like I think those three things
Yeah.
are kind of the biggest things for me, at least like for my own experience. Because like physically, I loved lifting anyway. Like I was a powerlifter all through winter. I did football and lifted for that. So it was something that I quickly fell in love with, just being able to be strong enough to help people, be strong enough to do
Yeah.
my job
Yeah.
and do it well. And that was something that it was always a hobby for me. It's never something that like I'll ever seek anything like professionally, but
Yeah.
like that was just a hobby of mine that I feel like I could upkeep very easily. When it came to the other three aspects, it was like, how can something that I do benefit me in these ways? And that was kind of the biggest thing that I did during like the 2, 3 months that I had after stepping away was, is this something that I want to do? Is this something that I think I can achieve? And is this something that I want to achieve? And it's like after combing through it and like putting football through kind of that filter,
Yeah.
it turned into, well, maybe not.
Hmm.
Well, maybe not. It's like, well, the only reason I'm doing it is so I can pay for college, and that's a bad mindset to have when you're trying to play for 4 years.
Yeah.
Because you think in terms of players like Parker Titsworth, like he ended up taking what 2 or 3 degrees and didn't get his scholarship until his junior year.
Right.
Like that's whoa. Imagine the passion for that.
Right.
It's like I came on with the same situation that he had, and it just wasn't.
Yeah.
That wasn't really my my direction.
Right. Right.
I see that's a danger floating out there right now for I would say a lot of parents and athletes because parents have that mindset of I'm putting my kid through this. It's like they love
Yeah, right. Speaking on behalf of your kids, my kids love it. Yeah, yeah,
And I say that's a good warning there for
Yeah.
to make sure because regardless of why you're doing it, when you get there, when you get to this level, you have to know it.
Yeah, like that. It becomes just as much about the self that it does about the team.
yeah.
Like 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 I said before, it's a business, but it's not just a business for the team; it's a business for you. Like,
Well, and it's becoming more and more of that now. As we're right. And coaches are having to make the adjustment of feeding into that as well as helping them understand that you're going to be it's almost like, okay, I know that your number one priority is you individually. You want to make a lot of money. I mean, you'll even hear players, to just be honest, they'll tell you, I'm here to make money. I need to make money. And so I'm playing. And so the coaches will be like, well, that's not, you know, 5 years ago, it was like, well, we don't want you. We want team players. That's Nick Saban's not coaching right now because of that, right?
Yeah, that's
Eh,
possible, but you're gonna be
but
you're gonna be
and that's and yeah and you're hearing like coaches adjust in how they deal with players like that now, because they realize this is where we are. And so, okay, let's help you make as much money as possible, and let's enjoy you for the 1 year that you're going to be here, right? Chase Hendricks, he's probably going to go somewhere else next year, right? Right. We love Chase, and it's reality, right? Hope he stays. I hope he decides to stay, but you can't blame him if he gets a great offer and goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, Curtis Rourke did it. There, and so embrace it and say, okay, let's help you to become the best that you can be. And one of the ways that you're going to look better is if our team wins. We win a MAC championship, that helps you a ton. Yeah. And so it's kind of combining those two conversations. So let's transition and so let's apply those three questions that you asked yourself about football to what you're doing now. I mean, like, is this something that I love? Is this something that I can do in my future, like that I can continue doing for a long time? And I can't remember what the third one was.
like is
So
this? Yeah.
do I want to do
Do I
it?
want?
Yeah. So like, what are you doing? Like, what new endeavors have you taken upon? Like, what new opportunities have opened up for you since the difficult decision that was made for you happened of stepping away from football?
Well, like the biggest thing was, being able to do more about like doing more of the thing that I came here to do, like kept to school for
Media.
was media.
Yeah.
And, being able to like ever since I've done that, I've been on close to probably 20 short films, different projects for film.
What aspect, like what part of that are you most passionate about?
I love directing.
Directing?
I love working with people to make something happen. And coincidentally, it's also a very big leadership role of like,
Mhm.
being able to coordinate a bunch of people together to make something that wouldn't be as good without them.
Yeah.
And that was something that I really found passion in with film specifically was, it's this big conglomerate of every single aspect of the arts coming together. Like I don't know if you've ever watched like the behind the scenes like episodes of like the behind the curtain for movies and like how like Star Wars, for example, like how a lot of their backgrounds were hand painted and like a lot of the things. So like you bring in, the traditional arts of like, you know,
Hmm.
painting and
Yeah.
music and like you bring all this together with, traditional acting and editing techniques now. It's becoming its own art and well it's been its own art.
Right.
It's like it's becoming its own thing of like, hey, we need editors. We need people that know how to put things together not only well but fast. And there people find that niche. And I think that it was a really easy transition for me because that was kind of the same thing I wanted in football
Yeah.
was working towards something that was bigger than its individual pieces and working towards getting something done that would be close to impossible by yourself.
Hmm.
And as offensive lineman, I mean that's kind of the stereotype is
Yeah.
that you never, last to fame, first to shame. It's
Right.
always your fault if you
Right.
mess up. But
Right. Nobody notices when you do well because it's the running back that's getting the congratulations that went through the semi truck sized hole that you built that you made for him.
yeah, so it was like it's knowing the humility that came from that
Sure.
and putting that in a spot where you could have you know, like just think about roles on a set. You have your assistant director, your script supervisor, your camera people, your audio people, your
Mhm.
all the people that are on set working and doing their job to make something happen, to make something that didn't exist the day before. And like it's always a very gratifying process for me. And it's something that I want to pursue because of that, because I feel like it fulfills those needs of my base want of working together to make something that
Yeah.
would be impossible without it. And that's what made the transition easy for me, and it answers all three of those. It's like if
Right.
it's something that is fulfilling, yes. If it's something that I want to do, yes. It's something that I think I can achieve, yeah. Because at the end of the day, you know, I may not go on to every production as a director, but the skills that I'm learning here during college are like being able to work with people, being able to, you know, be in any role that, is needed of me. Because I've done audio for films, I've done camera work for films,
Hmm.
I've done assistant directing work, I've done script writing work, I've done editing work for people. Like, being able to like wear all those hats at once and knowing that, if the opportunity presents itself, it's like, hey, I want you on this film. I just don't know what for yet because you know how to do all these things. That's the ideal scenario for me.
Hmm.
Is that like, hey, I want you to be a part of this because I respect you as your work presents itself to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what becomes very fulfilling in what I was doing. And I think that can apply to anyone that does want the same thing out of team sports specifically, or the competitiveness of it.
Right.
Like finding something that is just as cutthroat in ways, just as like it takes dedication, it takes a lot of your time, it takes your attention, and it takes the ability to be open to learning more. All things that you learn,
Hmm.
in my case, from playing football,
Yeah.
like being open to, because transitioning from high school to college, I didn't know how to pass that. I didn't know how to do a lot of pass blocking stuff because my coach was very
Right.
run forward
Yeah.
first. And, it was a big hurdle for me being able to like, it's like, oh, I have to step back. How is that possible? Like, what's happening
Hmm.
there? And, it's just stuff like that,
Yeah.
being able to adapt to, how different systems work and
Yeah.
being able to work under different conditions all the time. um you'd be surprised how connected those two things are with each other if you look
Yeah.
at it the right way.
I mean, it's
I was actually going to ask you that. When you look back on your, all of your football experience, the entire, I would say your career as a football player from youth league all the way to, Ohio University, do you see that as a continuation of where you're at now? Like, or is it decelerated?
In a way, yes, because I didn't feel with the role that I played at OU specifically, I didn't feel that I earned the titles that the team did because of how little of a role that I played because of the situation I was in. Like when we won the MAC championship, it was a little bit weird to sit in my sweatsuit on the sideline watching everybody else, absolutely beat the crap out of Miami. And it was definitely like a surreal feeling because like I felt like I was a part of the team, but not fully.
not a contributing part.
Yeah, it was like I felt like I contributed, but not in a way that was meaningful enough to say that I earned that. And
Did they give you a ring?
yeah, so I got the rings.
Then they believe you earned it.
Yeah, so like that was
And I think
Yeah.
I think you would say the same thing as a director.
Yeah.
This great film, and it gets a lot of awards, and there's going to be people that assisted in that. Not being in media, I don't know all the roles you're probably thinking of. There's probably some roles.
yeah.
As a director,
Very similar to yours.
maybe sitting at the table when you're picking up the saying, "Well, I didn't really do much," but you're saying thank you to everybody.
Yeah,
And I think that's genuine.
because
Leaders do.
like that was a realization that I had very very late because
Sure.
it was like I did like I still felt the anxiety of like did I earn this or not up until the point where in the beginning of the semester when I did go and get my ring from Coach Covington, like I was like I didn't want to feel the entitlement of like, hey, where's my ring? You know what I mean?
Right.
I didn't feel that part of it, where it was like I didn't feel that I deserved it, but I got one anyway. And I feel like, yeah, like you said, it was very easy transition to see that even in menial roles, I still contributed to making this thing what it is. And it was like, without me helping, it would have made someone's job very much harder to do.
Yeah.
Or much more difficult to, to
Well, and
achieve.
you just, there are some things that you just never know. I mean, there are countless ways that players contribute without even realizing it. As a coach, me having to learn how to communicate difficult things, or learn, stretching my, mind, and my experience, and my own, our talents as a coach in helping a player with something that they're having difficulty in, and like stepping back, right? Like, we not have very many guys that can't do this. So what, how am I going to help them? You then are making that coach better as well, by even in your weakness, right? And you just, they're just so, they're the ways that people contribute. You can't quantify all of them. You just can't, because you can't sit down unless you really sat down and put them all in a notebook. But you can't do it, because there's so many intangible things that happen that you'll never think about. Coaches won't think about it. People won't think about it. I mean, fans won't think about it. Players won't think about it. But it happened.
And it's more of those lesser roles, those roles that go, without the spotlight. The more of those that you have filled with people that do it well, the better chance you have of being successful as a group. It's just, I think school districts win championships in high school. I think school districts win championships.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. In high school,
Yeah.
particularly. Yeah, I agree. It's a whole cultural thing, and an expectation that trickles down, or trickles up, trickles down, whatever, trickles everywhere, ripples out to everything, and touches everything. Yeah. Speaking of coaches, Brennan, well, not just coaches, but everybody, teammates, family, coaches, friends, who who helped you the most through the transition? Who supported you most, and like like if you're, as you look back through it, who who comes to mind for you that says, I'm glad that person said this or did this?
Honestly, it's a very like warming thought to know that there were like so many people that kind of not really kind of understood, but like were curious about. It's like, why did this happen? Like,
Hmm.
what happened here?
Yeah.
Two people in particular. This was probably 2 or 3 days after I had cleaned up my locker. I had done everything. I was sitting in James, knock on my door, and it was Seth Anstead, Chuck Malinsky. I had not had too much of like a deep, like relationship with either of them.
Hmm.
Like the only times that we really spent like talking to each other was when we were at practice, or when we were sitting in the meeting room waiting for one person to show up, and like having like little tiny conversations, and knowing that those two in particular were, the first ones to really like talk to me about it and reach out about it, um, was, really meaningful.
Yeah.
Knowing that like, oh, like we didn't really have too much of like a deep friendship, but at the end of the day, like you still
Yeah.
cared enough to go do that. And like the same sentiment was shared with like the rest of like the freshmen oncoming line guys. Like you know, you got Andrew Irby, you got Bryce Parsons, like you got all these different guys that come together, and it was like, everybody was worried, everybody was concerned, and it was such a meaningful thing, because I never really had teammates that were like that before, which I know kind of comes as a shock, but it was like I had much more of a family with my college team than I did with my high
Great.
school team.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just because of the passion of it. It was because I moved from Rock Hill School District to Colgrove
Oh, did you?
my 8th grade year.
Yeah.
In like middle school. And that was probably when it started getting like, I started getting recognized more for my ability as a
Uh-huh.
player, was going from Rock Hill to Colgrove. And, at that point, everybody else from that district that was already on the team had grown up with each other, and had,
Yeah.
already had these pre-established like friendships with each other. And I constantly felt more on the alienated side, because not just because I didn't grow up with them, but I didn't have the same passions that they did. Like I grew up, I did concert band in middle school, like up until my sophomore year of high school. I did that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely something that was like, oh, that's different. And
Right.
in a high school scenario, that doesn't
Different
really,
culture. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't go
Yeah.
over very well. So it was like I kind of floated around a lot in high school when it came to, finding a support group with friends and teammates and stuff like that. But coming into college and being around people that specifically cared about football and what happens within it and without it, like the O-line room became a family with each other.
Yeah.
Knowing
Yeah.
that I came in so late and still fostered that relationship with people was really, really like reassuring to me.
Yeah.
Of like, like you said, that, I got the ring, so I earned it, so I think I earned it. And it, it, it made me feel that, I didn't deserve anything, but I got it anyway. And the gratefulness
Mm-hmm.
that washed over me, like over that moment, and just being like, so my interaction with people matter. My interactions with, people outside of sports or outside of practice or outside of my athletic ability matter. And, it really turned into something that was like, that was, it kind of changed my perspective on how I approach talking to people now. It's like,
Yeah.
it's easy to discount an interaction that you have with a total stranger, but at the end of the day, you never know when you see them again. You'll never know when that becomes something that can be beneficial, or like, and not to think it purely like a transactional way, but like it can, you never know when the things that you say affect other
Yeah.
people. You never know what you tell people or how you say it is going to affect people. And it was very, very eye-opening for me to see people that I hadn't really had much of a connection with, show up.
Yeah. That is cool.
Well,
Yeah.
I can tell you, you already were in a role. You could have definitely filled that role in a way that would have been negative,
Mm-hmm.
or in a way that would hurt the
Sure.
program or the team. For sure, you could do that. Well, if you were giving advice to high school athletes right now, thinking about this transition period we're talking about that all of us go through, whether we, some of us sooner rather than than what we want, but would you give them? What advice would you give them? Think
To
about that.
Yeah, to honestly, the thing that helped me the most was not taking anyone's passions for granted. And it's easy to like, especially in high school, to fall into cliques, to fall into, hey, this is the one thing I'm good at, and I have people that support me doing that. This is what I'm going to do. Like, this is the only thing that I'm going to put all my effort into all the time. And, being able to discover different passions and hobbies for yourself and the people that you meet, the people that you connect with doing those through like formative years like high school and middle school are what helped me make that transition easy for me when it did happen. Like I was doing short form like comedy sketches and like short films in like middle school through high school already, like by myself, because I didn't really have anybody else that was into it. But it was like that fostered into why I went to school here. And, being good at football was kind of the subsidiary of that. It was like, so being able to find passions outside of what is normally accepted, or like finding passions that wouldn't otherwise be like your style, like just trying things.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the biggest thing to take away from, especially if it's offered. Like if like you're supposed like a theater program, why not? I mean, the worst that can happen is you don't like it, but you find out what you don't
Yeah.
like. It's like just trying things, just being like, you have a slight interest for that, go after it. Just for even if it's for like a couple days and you don't like it, whatever.
Yeah.
What I mean? It's like end of the day, you know what you don't like. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I could tell someone that is going through the same situation, of like, find something else that you can transition the passion and the effort and the attention that you're giving to sports right now, so you can transition it into that and be successful doing that instead. And if that doesn't work, find something else. And it's like, keeping that train moving consistently is, I think, the biggest thing.
we're holistic people, so I mean, we've got to have other things. I always told my kids, learn to play an instrument, play it. I mean, like you talked about being in music, right? Because, well, here's one reason why. The game decides when you're done, and for a lot of people, that's at a really young age. And so you can play an instrument till you die, right? I mean, and like my son Brock plays guitar now, and he's poured a lot of same kinds of passion into that. Plays on our church band, does a great job. You said you played in concert band? What do you play?
I play trombone.
Do you still play it a little bit?
I mean, every once in a while, like
Sweet.
it transitioned into more of like your traditional instruments.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
uh,
So you are playing other things?
yeah, I play.
Nice.
Like something that one of my middle school band directors told me was like, once you know what positions work with what notes, you can play any instrument. That's what he told me.
Gotcha.
So it was like I took that and was like, okay, I know very little about music theory. Let's figure out what sounds right.
Yeah, so that's me. I don't know anything about music theory, but I play chords.
Yeah, all learning about
Yeah.
like all campfire chord stuff and taking the passion that I had for writing at the time
Uh-huh.
and transitioning and filtering what I was feeling into writing.
Have you written some songs?
I have.
Nice. Shoot, we should have brought a guitar in here today.
Um,
I tell you what's fun. What's fun is to make athletes sing. In the same rooms that they do other things, like at Peden Stadium,
that was the first meeting I ever did.
where when I brought the guitar in and we did worship.
No, it was
Oh no, you actually did it. You sang. Yeah. You did some karaoke or whatever.
I did no, it was I did what was it called? The chorus to Tattoos by Tyler Childers.
Yeah.
And how short it was.
Yeah.
Because Coach Rudolph, he was like, we were trying to memorize the fight song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was like, hey, do you have a fight song on iPad? Like, can you sing it right now? It was like, and me just kind of throwing something out there. I was like, yeah, I've been told that I should record some stuff. He's like, oh yeah, give us some. I'm like,
put you on the spot.
Great.
Yeah.
So we're gonna figure something out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I threw that out and everybody enjoyed it. So that was like half the reason people liked talking to me.
That's awesome.
Hey, you can do a music video, you can record it for yourself. I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome. Last night at the Athletes in Action meeting, my wife, she was the speaker, and she asked me if I'd bring my guitar because she really wanted to conclude her talk with a song, with the song that we do at church called Made for More, and because it was what she was talking about, and she was basically she was talking a lot with them about understanding that you're made for more than just the sport that you play, right? And so we did, and it's always she said, now I know it's going to be awkward because you're sitting in the offensive line or the defensive line room. Well, of course, all those walls are open, so it's the entire room there, the meeting room, all together. And there's probably 70 or 80 people in there from different sports. And she said, I actually asked, how many of you actually can sing? And only a few hands went up, right? But I said, I don't care if you can sing or not. Let it out. And it was pretty cool. It was cool. And everybody talked about, because it's not part of their regular meeting. It's not part of many people's regular life as an athlete to have congregated singing, and it's cool. It's because it makes you uncomfortable. This isn't something that I do, but you're saying, I like how you say, step into those discomforts, and you'll never know. It might become something that you really enjoy, and add those to your life a little bit.
Finding comfort in the uncomfortable of learning new things. And not to sound like every self-help book you've ever read, but it's like, finding a way to, shift your energy from the thing that you were passionate about to the thing that you will be passionate about in the future.
Yep.
And
don't find your passion, take your passion with you.
Yeah. It's like take the motivation that you had for in my case football, and shifting it over into things that I knew I was already interested in.
Yeah.
Things that I was already passionate about and never really gave a whole lot of effort towards because I was so busy with the other thing. And it was something that both of my parents talked about at one point, which is why I no longer did concert band after my sophomore year, was you can't do 100% in everything. Like you can't do 100% to everything. So it's like you got
it's a lesson I've not learned yet.
It's like something's got to give. And it turns into like me trying to understand what that meant at the time. And in a way it's still, something that I'm trying to balance more of, at what point do my priorities have to balance? At what extent
Hmm.
can I give, and what extent can I take away? And I don't know. I feel like that's something that I'm still working on, but at the same time, it's something that I'm a lot better at now than I was a few months ago, and I take a lot of pride in that, knowing that
It's good.
that there's a point now that I feel that I'm doing something that benefits me more than I'm doing something that's hurting me, and whether that be physically, emotionally,
Right,
spiritually,
right,
all of those things.
right.
Uh, like it just I find a lot of passion in finding that balance now.
Awesome. There's one thing I wanted to ask. I know we're getting I mean, we've gone an hour and 5 minutes or so, but this is good stuff. But Pat asked you what lesson, or what might you say to other high school students about how to help them through some of the transition that they are going to go through also. Similarly, what what can coaches do to make it easier or better? Because it's still fresh for you, and I know that you don't. I mean, I'm not asking you to throw somebody under the bus or anything like that, but like, you, I mean, what advice would you give to? We're two coaches, right? And a lot of the people that there are kids that to ask us, do you think I could play in college? And I know you're not going to play. You're not going to make it. You're not going to play in college. How do I have that conversation with them, right? How what can we do to make that easier for play? Like what do you wish you would have had?
I think because my coach was like that. My coach was definitely, I didn't get as many opportunities as other players did because he didn't value me as much as he did other people, which was kind of ironic because I was the only person that was a 3-year starter. Like it was a very weird dichotomy of stuff. But it was like,
This is in high school.
yeah, this is in high school. My high school coach, like you said, not gonna try. I'm not gonna try and throw him under the bus.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
I didn't get as many visits. Like I see posts on Facebook now of him taking people to like college visits, and
Uh-huh.
I had to like my college visit for OU. I went by myself. Like I didn't have my parents with me. Both of them were out of town. I drove myself up here, and
Well, I'd say your feelings are legit. Like, how many people go to actually? I mean, you did get invited to be part of a Division I football program. Like, there are probably not very many of people
no,
coming from Cold Grove to Division I.
let's see. The last person to go D1 was before Chase Hall. I think it was Austin Pleasant, who also went here.
Austin was at Cold Grove?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Paul Grove to OU to Jacksonville.
Where's he at now?
San Francisco, I think. And
Yeah, he's playing professionally.
he's actually a starter.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Did you know that?
I
Yeah,
helped him like move all of his stuff in right before.
yeah. Huh. I had forgotten that he was an Ohio boy, like a local, Southeast Ohio.
Yeah, so he grew up. He grew up St. Vincent.
He's in our district, Southeast District.
But
Not
yeah,
a
it's
big.
like I think
It's gonna be a short clip.
I think as a coach, getting to know your players on more than just like in terms of an athlete, which I know that's pretty difficult to do when you get to like like your larger schools and like
Mhm.
your larger like high schools. But it's like knowing the players that aren't there for the love of the game, knowing that like finding the players that aren't as passionate about it, and if you're having that conversation, you know, I think finding ways to get the ball rolling on like, hey, what other things can we talk? What other things can we do? What other things can like I can't imagine having a talk with my coach about filmmaking, but at the same time, it's like I don't think that him barring my ability to go to next level was the right option. Um, because like I knew I had to go. I knew I had to do it. And
Yeah.
at that point I loved doing it. And it was like, hey, I like my senior day, nobody really felt anything because they all just had it in their head that I was going.
Sure.
Not
They weren't sad about
sad about
because they knew football was going to continue for
yeah,
you.
they knew it was going to continue for me, and I think that's what made it more like the most like frustrating for them was because like I was the last of,
Right.
like I have a little sister, but it's like that was the last bit of football they'll see of somebody in their family playing, and so I recognize that,
Hmm.
but getting back to the topic though, it's like I think getting to know the players that aren't going to make it and finding ways to foster the things that they could be passionate about. Or like,
Hmm.
and I'm not entirely sure how someone would go about doing that outside of having like a specific conversation or like, you know, just being more open to having conversations with players. And, you know, I think there is some validity to being real and saying, hey, I don't see this as something that you could do.
Yeah.
But getting to like the reasoning as to like why they want to go in the first place, or like,
Hmm.
and really kind of talking through, now keeping the conversation about sports specifically, I think is the biggest thing, because it's like they're not looking to you to figure out the rest of their passions. They're trying to
Sure.
figure out what their
Sure.
skills in ball. And I think something that I think my coach could have helped me a lot with was like, talking me through the reasoning as to why I wanted to do what I did, and just getting that player to think about what their priorities are going into the next level. If like they're already at prospects, or they're just fighting to get something like I did,
Hmm.
it's like, if you're passionate about it, go chase it, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's just something that like that's an individual thing.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you can only do so much. But as a coach, a lot of people look up to people like that. Well, a lot of people look up to coaches.
Yeah.
And like I did for a long time before I kind of recognized, kind of the way that I got stiffed. And um I think that being realistic while also trying to get to the reasoning as to why they want what they want, I think is the kind of the biggest thing I could say.
Hmm.
Just because, I feel like if I had thought about that, I'd have had the conversations in my head of what did I want out of this to begin with a lot sooner.
Yeah.
And, like at the end of the day, it's their own decision. But, being able to help with that, foster that, I think is the
Yeah.
most important part of that.
Yeah. We all need to remember that, and that's coaches, players, parents, everyone, everyone that's involved in all of these dynamics, that our identity does not rest in how many kids I send to play in college. Your identity doesn't rest in the fact that you play ball in college, or that, and your children's identity, or your identity doesn't rest in the fact that your children go and play in college. But I feel like sometimes that is what drives a lot of, I check myself sometimes, right? Like, how many kids do I have playing in college right now? Like it's a something to chalk up as like we're getting an award for it or something, right? But it's easy to be proud about that, and therefore, sometimes coaches will want to try to help kids play, and I always want to try to, if kids want to play, I want to help them play. But there's, like you said, there's a balance. You got to help them understand that there's a method to it that is going to be different than the method to it that you had in high school as well. And you need to be ready for that and be honest with them about that. And yeah, because it may come to an end pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, even then, like you said, it's like you can be proud of the fact that you're successful enough as a coach to get people athletically to go to that level. But at the same time, it's like not everyone's looking for, a lot of people see the mantle as a coach differently.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like I looked up to my high school coach for a long time just because of how he structured himself and he structured his family, and just how like everything was very, he took himself very seriously. And that was like, I didn't aspire to live like that, but in a way it was like he took coaching outside, like he took his coaching as seriously as he took him taking care of his family,
Yeah.
taking care of it. Like,
Yeah.
like he lived to, oh, he's still alive, but like,
Yeah.
he lived to foster a like a feeling of success.
Yeah.
It's like, he knew what it took to get success on the football field, and tried to like cross and stitch them together into like how can I be successful as a person. And it was like, as a coach, like if I were to ever coach, I'd want to be similar to that.
Mm.
In the sense that I know a lot of people wouldn't look to me as a coach, they'd look to me as a mentor, they look to me as somebody that would be like, an example. Like,
Yeah.
you're looked up to as somebody that knows what they're talking about, and you have to take that responsibility pretty seriously, because you never know the situation. You never know what somebody's going through. And maybe like in my case, football was, how school was paid for. So if, football was how, you know, that was the marker of success in my mind. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, if I'm playing college football, I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
And, it was like I was saying before, getting to the root cause and the root purpose as to why somebody wants to go next level is, that's something that you can foster, and something that you can like redirect if it's something that you don't see out of them. And holding that power is a very big responsibility. Uncle Bet. Um, just stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I think makes it important.
Totally.
Let's have it.
Yeah, it is. It is. Pat is has Jake gone through any, like, I mean, he didn't come to college to play ball, but like is he missing all of it, or do you don't think he'll feel it until baseball season? Assuming that was his favorite sport to play.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He hasn't said anything like that.
If we could get him in here as a guest, we'd ask him directly.
Um, Jake was always a very uh, even keel person. He didn't get too high, didn't get too low, and he really enjoyed playing with his friends. And I think that's one of the reasons that playing college,
Sure.
it wasn't something that he thought he might want to do, because he knew his friends would probably be there. Um,
So there's different purpose in it for him. Everybody plays with a different purpose.
yeah, and so yeah, I'm sure he misses it.
Yeah.
To a degree. I don't know how you could.
Right.
He put a lot of time, effort, and focus, and into it as well. But it hasn't really came up that way.
Mhm.
He's just kind of he's transitioned well, and as well as you could, experiencing more challenges.
Yeah.
There's different challenges,
Yeah.
different struggles, different things you have to deal with as you move on to the next chapter of your life. So, but yeah, maybe we can get him in to see if he's feeling that way.
Brennan, did you play any other sports besides football?
Let's see. Up until I'd say probably I mean, all throughout high school, I did track and field. I threw shot and disc.
Okay.
I powerlifted competitively in high school.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Just because like it turned into my high school coach was also our throwers coach for the track and field team, was also our strength conditioning coach for powerlifting. So it was like it turned into, hey, I don't really care what you're doing right now. We're working towards the next season.
Mm-hmm.
And like I remember something that he'd do. He would always put us in a seventh period like strength training class, like, and it was like,
Yeah, I'd like to have that. Yeah. Yeah.
it's like look, I'm not gonna.
It would save me 3 trips a night down the road.
Yeah, it's like it was a very good thing. I
Yeah.
like doing it. Like I always signed up for it because I knew I'd
Right.
end up in it anyway. But like some people had to get their schedule changed because of it, because they took like a seventh period Spanish class, and it was like, I'm taking lifting now. What's this? Which I mean, I didn't care, because I liked doing it anyway, and it was easy to like get it over with right before practice. So
It's just so
It
hard.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
Districts with that have a leg up, and some districts that don't. For
Yeah.
yeah.
Because you're getting everybody.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's PE. I mean, it's an important thing.
No, I didn't play much baseball. I played from Little League up until probably my seventh grade year, before I moved over.
Gotcha.
So I dropped baseball. I was only known for my hit or miss batting average.
Oh, what's up? It's what everybody's known
Well, it
for.
was like either I'd strike out,
You're either going to hit or you're going to miss.
that's what I mean. It's like either I fully struck out. Like there's no in between. I never hit a grounder. It was
You need
like
guys in the
struck
lineup
out,
like that.
was like snapped an aluminum bat in half,
There you
or
go.
like or like I remember they used to call me out all the time because I'd hit the same sign in the middle of center field, and it would be like,
There you go.
whoa, that's weird. I'll
That's
just
your
have to
sign.
say
Yeah.
perfect. But yeah, because like my dad was my baseball coach for a
Yep.
long time. Uh, he coached football for a few years in the league. So that was something that um, I felt really connected that way.
Cool.
To highlight something that you said earlier, though, is that like the problems don't get better or worse; they just get different. And I feel like that's something that's really important to touch base on, just because of how like I feel that transitioning from the stress of playing college sports into the stress of working towards my future was it's kind of the same. It feels the same, but it's like it's not as stress inducing as it is just I'm busy.
Mm.
And I feel like the longer you go
Hmm.
into the things that you really enjoy doing, the stress doesn't feel as stressful anymore. If that makes sense. It's like transitioning from getting up at 6:15 in the morning to go lift is a lot different than waking up at 6:15 in the morning to want to go lift. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to go versus
Yeah.
want to go. And going in and doing a film every weekend and being busy, not being able to go home, and doing the sports production. I do a lot of the production for home games just through a class right now. Hopefully, eventually get paid for it. Fingers crossed. Going in and being on the sideline with a giant camera in my hand doing stuff for the Jumbotron for, the home games here. It's like I love doing it, and I don't care to spend 8 hours a day, like 8 hours for on a Saturday, just, doing
Yeah.
that because it makes me feel like I'm doing more than what I was doing when I was an actual player.
Huh.
Like that's how I feel more. I feel
You're
like
contributing to something a
like
little more.
I've
Yeah.
contributed more because of what I was doing rather than the title that I held.
Yeah.
And I think that, like you said, like it doesn't get hard. It doesn't get easier or harder. It just gets different. And the way you handle it, it defines everything. It's like
Right.
it's not what is it? It's an Aldous Huxley quote. It's like it's not experience isn't what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you.
Mm.
And I hold that with me all the time. I love
Yeah.
it. It is spoken, like, especially within the last half a year, is spoken so much about how I've dealt with things. And
100%.
I
Our response to experiences is always, it's always going to be it's going to determine a different outcome than us just focusing on the experience. How you respond is huge. And
That's what 92% of people that play high school sports get out of high school sports.
mhm,
Is that lesson and understanding that, being able to take that with you.
yeah, yeah,
That's, you mentioned earlier, the top 1% is what, that's who plays professionally. 8% play D1 baseball, right? So 13%. So 87% of high school
mhm,
students that play high school sports are there to take something away from that. It's
yeah,
take with them in life.
yeah.
That's what I mean.
Well, I'm glad that you're finding. I mean, you obviously are finding joy in other other things, and even able to stay connected to football a little bit by being on the sideline and filming. And now your product is on the screen, and
Yeah,
you can see it.
it's some roundabout way of still keeping the things that I was passionate about and tying it in with what I'm doing.
Yeah,
It's like that's a very, like, it's a luxury.
sure.
It's not something that a lot of people, can say that they can do. Um, but at the same time, it can be. It's like,
hmm
finding, just the, like, different aspects of the sport itself. Like I mentioned at some point before, being taking the competitiveness that you had playing, playing whatever sport you were playing, and taking that into, like, real estate or something,
Absolutely.
or taking it into something that, like,
Yep.
and I know it's like a very, like, corporate way of saying it's like, bring some bring some passion into your job, but it's like
That's
that's
real life,
what
though.
you have to
Yeah.
do. It's being able to transition into, you know, taking the things that you not only that you learned from the sport, but the things that you did during the sport, and using those to be successful in whatever whatever branch you want to go down in terms of your career.
Yeah. Do you have one particular memory of all the years that you played sports, any sport, not just football, but it can be football, obviously, and yeah, one particular memory? Because this is a question that we ask everyone, and we're gonna get kicked out of this room here in just a minute. We've been on for a while. What is this, an hour and 26-minute long episode as of right now? Close to it. And we always ask our guests the same question. Our podcasts always end very similarly when we have guests, and that is, if you can think of one story to tell that is a great memory from playing sports, what would that be?
I think one of the most important games I ever played when I was playing football was my junior year. And I'm this close to talking about what we were talking about.
The Megs
The
game.
Megs game.
Yes.
One of the most
Sweet.
Yeah, it was one of the most important games I think I've ever played, just because of how passionate everyone was. Like we go out and we were just absolutely eating it. Like we were out at like
In the first half.
we're down by like 44. It's like there's no possible way. Our coach comes through and he's like absolutely ripping us a new one. Like, but everyone in the locker room is just silent. For the first time in the 5 years that I played with everybody, the locker room was dead silent. And like I couldn't get just the thought out of my head of like what everyone else could be thinking in this exact moment. And knowing that I stepped out of just the moment for like a half second, and I blinked and we're back on the field again. And lo and behold, we're just absolutely ripping touchdown after touchdown. It's like we're getting back and like regaining the passion, and seeing the people that had stayed around for after halftime absolutely just erupt in the crowd, and everybody getting the passion back for it, and like being unified in how we operated in that game, and seeing everyone come together, if not for like the last time, because it was really kind of like we had a successful season, but it never felt the same. I think we ended up playing Fort Fry and Lancaster that year for like I think the semifinal or something like that. It was last year we had Chase, but it was like no other game felt like that one, just because of how coming back and winning in overtime after like a 40-some point deficit. It was so like just the pride I had in the community, the pride I had in my teammates in my school, and the way that we came together in spite of the odds that we had was probably, yeah, it is like by far one of the most shining examples of how coming together makes that possible. And it's like I keep tying things together back to that game just because of how amazing it was to come together and beat your team.
I've been looking at Pat's face the whole time you've been telling the story, because Jake was a senior or junior that year, right? 23, fall of 23.
Yeah, that's
You and Pat. No, you're 1 year older than Jake. Jake would have been a sophomore.
Collarbone injury, right?
As a freshman, he had a collarbone injury. So as a sophomore, I don't think he played much varsity.
So he's doing some tight end, defensive end. Yeah.
Stuff like that. So,
yeah. I was at that game, and I remember standing out because I was standing in the end zone section right behind where Coach Chansey sits all the time, and right like the baseball locker room, which was your all's locker room, and I can remember hearing your coach, because he actually was ripping the other coaches outside the locker room for a little bit, and then he came in and ripped you guys. He was ripping you guys actually on your walk into the locker room at halftime, and that was getting close to me having to leave because I came up here. I had OU chapel that night, and so I'm like, well, this game's over. I was with one of my assistant baseball coaches. And he said, I might not stick around either. I said, yes. I mean, Megs has got this one. And we were a little bit shocked that you guys are getting bulldozed.
Yeah.
And during the chapel service, my phone's vibrating in my pocket like crazy. And when we're done, I pull it out and Dustin texts me. He's like, you got to turn this game back on. It was an overtime. I was like, there's no way this game could be an overtime. And surely it was. It was
just
good
like
memory for him.
Yeah, everything worked together. It's like everything worked. It was like you call a play, we call it in, it worked. It was like, how are we getting 6 yards at top? What's happening? And it was like everyone was a little dumbfounded, but we're like, we're gonna roll with it. It's fine. And defense was getting stops. Like like everything was working together for the first time in that preseason, and it just,
Everyone's doing their job.
Yeah.
yeah.
I went. It was a comeback. I mean, it was a comeback story. I mean, everybody loves a comeback story, and yeah, you're never out, never down. I mean, till the last second ticks off the clock. That's for sure.
Well, I really appreciate you. It's been 90 minutes. I just want to congratulations on a good football career. And, I don't, definitely nothing to, you should be very proud of that. You're very successful. Because of, the individuals that ever played baseball in college, I can tell you that I think you were successful. It's something you should always hold in high regards. And if nothing more else, because everything that you learn, everything that you experience, you're taking with you to be the best person you can where your feet are. That's what sports are about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for telling your story, and thanks for if the people who we're gonna be letting people know that this is an important. There's nobody exempt from this. This is an important story, in the world of sports for everyone to listen to, and we're gonna be pushing this out. So yeah, appreciate it. Episode 200. That's why we went 90 minutes, because it's our 200th episode. Special day.
Listen to voice.
That's right.